Hello everyone, welcome back to the CodeIsha Training Center. So today we will discuss about the day 10 of topic is HTML input types in the 30 days HTML series. Okay, so let's get into the slides. So coming to the today our agenda is introduction to the HTML forms and what are the input types and what are the commonly we are used input types in the HTML forms. Okay, so and also we'll discuss about the input attributes and real-time examples and hands-on activity, and also you will get assignment and summary. Okay, so let's get into the slides. So first of all, coming to the what is an input field. So an input field allows user to enter the data with the web form. Okay. So the input tag is the one of the most commonly used in HTML elements. Okay. And the type attribute determines the what kind of data that users can enter in that input fields. Okay. So here the input type and the like input tag and the type attribute. Okay, so where we in that type attribute we can decide the what user can enter in that field, whether it is mail, whether it is name like text, or whether it is name and numbers, or whether it is date or data type or any other related attributes, sorry, any other related data types we need to implement there in the type attribute. Okay, so and coming to the input type is text. So these text input type we use it for the entering the single line text. Okay, so here are the simple examples for that, like name, city, username and designations. Okay, so and how we can implement that, if you need any label for that specific input field, we need to give the with the help of the label tag. Okay, and then we need to give the input type is the input, and with type attribute we can decide that whether it is password, whether it is text, or whether it is date or time, any other. Okay, so up to here. Okay, right, so how we can add the input field on the web forms. Okay, so let's try to add these into the web form. The input type is text. Okay, with help of the text sorry type attribute. So let's back into the code editor. Let's open HTML file. So inside this we're gonna open it. Okay, save it, and let's, so here I'm going to the first giving the h1 header. Okay, so here I'm going to the simple form, and then here I'm going to the form tag. Okay, I'm adding inside those input elements inside the form tag. Okay, so up to here. Okay, right, let's open that, close it. So data and input, so we are open here. So here we don't have any input fields right now. Yes, so now we are add those input file. Let's go to the code editor. Inside the, I'm going to the first giving the input only. Okay, so input, so when we need, where we need to decide that input data type with help of the type attribute, right? So here I'm going to the text. Okay, let's save it and back into the web page. Let's refresh it. See, now we are visible one input field, right? But which data we can enter here, whether it is name, whether it is data sorry date, or whether it is time, whether it is email address, whether it is password. We don't need we don't have any instructions right here. So like label type, right? So for that I'm giving here the name for this input field. Okay, so let's back into the code editor. So here I'm going with the label. Okay, to display the name for that field. Okay, and the label. So here I'm going to the name. Okay, let's save it and let's back into the web page. Let's refresh it. See, now we are seeing, so whoever the end user came these visit this web form, so he identify the, okay, here I need to enter the my data of the name. Okay, so for that he enters the date here, here the enters the is name. Okay, so up to here, okay, right? And let's back into the presentation. So, and next one we need to discuss about the input type is password. So this password is used for entering the confidential informations. Okay, so when we use this input type password, we get features like characters are hidden. Okay, and these password input type commonly we are used in the login forms. Okay, so here's how we can add that password input. Okay, so first we need to declare the label, and then we need to give the input. So inside that input tag, we need to add the data type with help of the type attribute. Okay, so let's back into the code editor, and here I'm going to the password. Okay, so let's remove this. Just I change here from name to password. Okay, name to password. Here I'm going to change also from text to password in the input type. Let's save it and come back into the web form. See, here's a name and here's a password. Okay, so and now which one we need to add? Come back into the code editor, not for, okay, so presentation, and then next one, input type is mail. Okay, so this may input type mail is accepts the email addresses. Okay, so here's the benefits when we use that input type email. Okay, so basic email validation. Okay, and it's the mobile devices show email friendly keywords. Okay, so this is the input email address. Okay, so how we can declare? First we need to add the label, and then we need to add the input type the email with the help of the type attribute. Okay, so let's back into the code editor, and now copy this one and save it. I'm gonna adding here password is email address. Okay, email address, and here's the input type is I'm going to the email. Let's save it and let's back into the, see, we don't have here. Let's refresh it. See, now we can see email address input field, right? So up to okay, right? And let's back into the code editor presentation, sorry. So next we need to discuss about the input type is number. So this number input type is used for numeric values. Okay, so here's the benefits for allows the only numbers, and we can also sorry, it can also supports the minimum and maximum values. Okay, so first of all, if we need to declare only number input type, so we can go with this piece of code. Okay, so if you need not this input, not only number, we need to add the minimum and maximum, then we need to go with this syntax. Okay, so let's see, let's adding the this one and also this one. Okay, let's try and back into the code editor. So let's save it. I'm going to the two here. So one is the age. Okay, I'm going with the age. One is the, and here I'm going to the number only. Okay, number only, and here I'm going to the experience. Okay, experience. Now here I'm see what I'm adding here. So I'm adding in here number. Okay, so up to here enough. Okay, so with the attribute type attribute I declared the number only. So let's see how it look like when we up to here only. Okay, let's save it and let's back into the web page. Let's refresh it. See, now name and the password and the email address and the age is there. Okay, and experience is there, but here see we don't any like, it shows the count, right? See, here's the count, it shows the count, right? So up to how many records are going here? See, minus going, right? And here also going to the minus. Okay, so now I'm going to the here going in the experience I need to only up to 5. Okay, so 5 letters only, 5 numbers only. Okay, so for that I'm going to the here implement the, sorry, so I'm going with the min attribute. So inside here I'm going to the 0, and now maximum. So maximum value I need only up to 5. Okay, so that is 5 experience only. Okay, so for that I'm going with the maximum attribute with the value is 5. Let's save it, and let's back into the web page. Let's refresh it. So now see, I'm going to the 0. As of now what we are start number 0, right? So 0, and so when I click on the down, it won't shows because we are implement only up to 0 to 5, right? So for that it shows any back of the like 0, -1, -2, right? But see here, observe, I'm going with it down, it also showing the minus. Okay, so but here I'm going with the down, it not showing any minus values. And let's see, I'm going to the up. Okay, so let's see how up to how many numbers are visibly here. Okay, so like 1 2 3 4 5. So see, up to only 5 because of we are given the maximum attribute is only 5. Okay, so let's try to change from 5 to 10. Okay, I'll change it 5 to 10, and here's the minimum value is 1. Okay, let's save it. And before we are not adding these values, what we can see, minimum is 0 and the maximum is 5, right? So let's see, now we are added the 1 to 10. So let's refresh it, and here I'm going with the 1. So let's say I'm going to the down, but it won't shows any values because of we are implemented minimum value is 1. Okay, and see up to 10, right? We are added 3 4 5 6 7 8 10. So but more than 10 we cannot see any values because of we are given the maximum values is 10. Okay, so up to here. Okay, right? And let's back into the presentation, and here's the input type tel. So tel nothing but telephone. Okay, so these attribute is, sorry, this input type is used for the phone numbers. Okay, whether it is cell number, whether it is fax number, whether it is business number. Okay, so based on your requirements you need to add with the help of the input type tel. Okay, so here's the label and here's the input type. Okay, so and if you need placeholder also, we can add that placeholder with help of the placeholder attribute. Okay, so let's try to add the placeholder attribute also. Okay, so let's back into the code editor. So first I need to implement the, first I need to add the only number without placeholder attribute. Okay, so here I am going with the cell number. Okay, here I am going with the tel. Let's save it now, and let's back into the web page. Let's refresh it. See now, cell number, right? So we don't have any placeholders here. So like you need to enter this type of format, you need to enter like this number, you need to enter up to 5 only. So for when we need that requirements, we need to add the placeholders. Okay, so let's see, I'm adding the here placeholder. Placeholder is, I'm going with the like 10 numbers, sorry. Enter current cell number. Okay, let's try to save it, and let's back into the web page. See what it shows, enter current cell number. Okay, so we can not only we can add this placeholder in the only input type, we can add also name. Okay, email address. Okay, experience. Okay, so and the age. Okay, we can add also these input types also. Okay, and let's back into the input type, and next one. So coming to the next one, input type is date. So it allows the users to select the date. Okay, whether it is whatever your requirements data. Okay, so it provides the calendar picker in most web browsers. Okay, so we can implement that, we can add that date input type with help of this. Okay, label, and the input type is type attribute is date. Okay, so let's add that one also. Let's copy this line of code and paste it here. I'm going with the here date of birth. Okay, so here I'm going with the type is date. Let's save and back into the web form. Let's see, date of birth is date type. Okay, so up to here, okay, right? And now next one, input type is time. So this time data type is used for the selecting the time. Okay, so where we can use this input time type, we can use for these appointment bookings and meeting schedulings and event timings. Okay, so for that we can use this type time. Okay, input time type. So here's how to we can declare that. So let's go back into the code editor and the paste it here, and here I'm going with the event time. Okay, event time, and here's the, we need to declare the type attribute is time. Let's save it and back into the web page, and let's refresh it. See, event time is, it shows like this. We need to select that. Okay, so based on your requirement you need to give the values. Okay, so up to okay, right? And come back into these presentations. Now checkbox. So these checkbox we use when multiple selections are allowed. Okay, so select skills, examples, select skills, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Salesforce. Okay, so let's add it those name of the checkboxes. So we can select only one or we can select the all. Okay, so let's see. So let's back into the code editor, open this. So now we don't add any labels. Okay, just I'm going with the, here I'm going with the checkbox. So here also I'm changing the from time to checkbox, and here also I'm changing with the from time to checkbox. And now I'm going with the here giving the values. Okay, for that checkbox, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, and Salesforce. Okay, so let's save it and back into this. Let's refresh it. See, now HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Salesforce, but we don't have any field input, right? Sorry, for these values we don't have any label, right? So let's, I'm giving the label here. Like here I'm going, the label is select your skills. Let's save it and let's back into the web form. See now what it shows, select your skills like 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Okay, so up to okay, right? And let's back into the presentation and coming to the radio button. So when we use these radio input type button, use it for the when only one option can be selected. Okay, so before when we use that input type is checkbox, we can select at a time number of checkboxes, right? But coming to the radio button, we cannot select the at a time more numbers, only one we can select that. Okay, so let's see how we can add that radio buttons in the web form. Okay, so and how it works when we select in that specific one value. Okay, and here I'm giving the label is gender. Okay, label is gender, and here I'm going with the range. Okay, range, and here I'm going with the male. One is the male and number two is female. Number two is female. and let's save it and let's back into the web page. Let's refresh it. See, now it shows the one value is the male and one value is the female. So I think not this one, not range. So we need to give here, sorry, what is that, checkbox name, radio button, right? So sorry, I need to give here radio, and here also I'm going with the radio. Let's save it and let's back into the web form. See, now it shows male and the female. Okay, so let's see, when we are going with the here checkboxes, we can select the one or more, right? So but coming to the here radio button, we can select only one. Okay, so we cannot select the two at a time. Let's refresh it and let's see. I think we are name, gender, and here also I'm going with name is gender, sorry, gender. Okay, let's save it and let's back into the code. Okay, so now let's see. Yeah, now it works. Okay, we can select only one. Okay, at a time. Okay, so up to here, okay, right? And let's back into the our code editor, and next one, file. Okay, so this input file is allows for upload the files. Okay, so like resume upload, profile pictures and documents. Okay, and here's the how to we can add that input file. Okay, so let's back into the code editor, and here I'm going with the event is upload your documents, and here I'm going with the file. Let's save it and let's back into the our code editor, and let's refresh it. See, now we can see uploading the file. Okay, so whatever requirement we need to upload here the documents. Okay, and next input type is colors. Okay, so and it allows the users to choose the colors. Okay, and like theme selections and design customizations. Okay, so we can use these. Input type is text, sorry, input type is color. Okay, so here's the implementation that and going with the range. So this range input type is used for selecting the values within the range sliders. Okay, so like we can use these volume control, brightness adjustment and ratings purpose, we can use this one. Okay, and how we can declare that, we need to add the first input, and inside that type attribute is range, and if we need like specific range like minimum to maximum, we need to add the attributes these. Okay, like minimum and the maximum. Okay, so let's add these two. So first one we need to add the color. Okay, so here I am going with the first color. So pick your favorite color. Okay, so first is a favorite color, and here what is the input attribute is color, right? Color. So we need to add here not you. Okay, and one more, here I'm going with the range. Okay, so here I'm going giving the volume. Okay, volume, what attribute is range. Okay, so as of now we don't have any maximum and minimum values, right? So I'm adding that maximum values from 0 to minimum values from 0 to maximum values up to only 10. Okay, I need only up to 10. Let's save it and back into the code editor, and let's refresh it. See, Now we can see pick up the color. So whatever our requirement, we need to pick up that color. Okay, and here's the volume is there. Okay, so like up to 100 or 1 or 2 or 3. Okay, so up to okay, right, everything. And coming to the slides, and here's a simple form. Okay, so already we are done, these are all things. Okay, and coming to the, when we use these input types in HTML, we need to follow these best practices. Okay, so use meaningful labels. Okay, so when you are adding the input types, so must and should add the labels like meaningfuls. Okay, and coming to the choose correct input type. Okay, so for example, we need telephone number. Okay, so for that we need to, if we need to by mistakenly add the input type is number, so it is not work, right? Because we need telephone number, so like contact number. So that time what we can use, we can use the tell, right? Tell input type, right? So and coming to the validate user input. Okay, and also keep forms are simple. Okay, and better to use the placeholder wisely. Okay, and make mandatory fields or clear. Okay, so for example, we have a form one. Okay, so in that we have the name and email address. Okay, so here I need to must ensure that whoever the end user came, these filling the form, that end user must and should enter the email address. Okay, so that time what we can use, mandatory fields. Okay, so requirement, so with the required, we need to add that attribute when we need mandatory those fields. Okay, and coming to the next, here's the assignment based on today's topic. Okay, so let's try to create one job application form. Okay, so like full name and the email and the number and the password, date of birth, and the skills and gender, resume upload, and final one submit button. Okay, so here's I'm going with the int. So for full name I'm going with the giving the hint. So for full name, text. Okay, text input type, and here's the input email. Okay, so for this input is tell, and the password for the password input type, and for the date we need to add the date input type, and the skills coming to the checkboxes. Okay, here's the radio buttons, and coming to the resume upload, what is that, file attribute, sorry, file type, and final one submit button. Okay, so let's try to create this assignment. Okay, based on today's topic, and here's a final summary whatever we are done this session. Okay, so we are done HTML types like text, password, email, numbers, and etc inputs. Okay, and we are done date and type inputs and checkbox and radio buttons. Okay, so and also we are discussed about the file color and range inputs also. Okay, and we are done input attributes and the form best practices also. Okay, so here's a simple thing in today's session like HTML input types. And finally, thank you for everyone watching this video. So I hope this video for you helpful. Okay, so if anyone interested to learn software technologies, whether it is web development, whether it is Salesforce or MySQL or Power BI, so please contact us, we'll help you to learn those courses. Okay, so feel free to contact us. Okay, so thank you everyone, don't forget to the subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you.